Now, the key area here, I think, of course, is that technology isn't about technology as I suggested with that opening statement. It's actually about us, it's about people, it's about human interactions, it's about what we do with it, the way it makes our lives better, and that all stems around this critical word, experience. We're now at a point, I recently learnt from the Boston Consulting Group based in the US, that more than 51% of global luxury sales are experiential. They're no longer product-based. You know, products, those things that you could drop on your foot. It isn't about product anymore, is it? I mean, it can be, but actually it's more often about the joining of product and experience. Because what we find successfully often as people in business is that I might make some money selling this product, I can drop somewhere, but actually I also might make quite a bit of money from all the peripherals that surround that product, the intangibles, the concepts, the relationship stuff. All of that stuff that surrounds that product is often as valuable or increasingly more valuable than the actual product itself. So the growth rate, the compound annual growth rate of this notion of experiential luxury, hugely important there, 25% as per the Boston Consulting Group report. This is Nike operating in London, in East London, of course, Shoreditch, nearly as exciting as Mitta. This is their 1948 centre. It's a kind of this interesting combination between sales space and investigation space and education space. Because again, what we're seeing is a brand that's sort of literally collapsing all the ideas of traditional notions of experience and wrapping them all up in one thing. This is where I learn about the brand. It's where they also experiment with consumers. It's where I get to trial new product. It's where I get to kind of maybe take a class. I find out about Nike as a brand. I do all sorts of things. So it's not just about clever marketing or clever PR. It's this wrapping up of how Nike becomes a sports brand, a science brand, a relationship brand, all sorts of other things. And of course, this is the success story that we see with so many big global players. But this isn't about having the money to open some expensive, trendy lab in Shoreditch. This is simply about the mindset that kind of collapses the idea of what it is that you offer as a business, where you become so much more about an experiential organization that delivers things that of real meaning to the customers that you serve. And I think this, is, of course, is why we're seeing the growth and the importance of the mobile phone. Because let's face it, I mean, I've put mine, oh no, I haven't, I've still got it in my pocket. I've put it on silent and airline thingy, so it's not going to interrupt with my microphone, but it's still with me. It's wedded to my body. That's why when we talk to our consumers and our brands that we work with, we talk about what's your share of pocket or share of handbag, because that's where my relationship with my brand sits now. You know, back in those early days of the 2010s and even before, you know, there was that thing called mobile marketing. Again, Matt kind of talked about this idea of expressions that really are ahead of themselves and we don't really understand them. None of us really understood what mobile marketing was, because it wasn't relevant, because at that point we were using our phones for personal things and we were keeping our mobiles very private. Whereas, of course, now anyone with one of these, with a smartphone, which is pretty much what 75% of us as a population, this thing is now littered with brand. Because it's actually about my relationship with Halo and Facebook and Ocado and Tesco and Virgin and HSBC and British Airways and Scrabble, and I won't go on. But it's all about brand, because all of these brands are doing something for me. They're creating experiences, platforms, environments that are great for me, that are useful for me. It's a computer that works the way I need it to work, and I'm tampering with it, and increasingly a younger generation are hacking and modding this to make it what they want. And we'll talk about that maybe in a moment. But that sense, I think, of the global triumph of the tablet and the smartphone, I think, is really what this year is all about, the 2014. It is the point at which we kind of go, PCs, what were they? You know, you speak to anyone under the age of 15, PC, what's that? Desktop computer. You know? It's a bit like asking a 14-year-old what a phone box is or what they think a phone box is used for. Well, it's somewhere, obviously, where a superhero changes their wardrobe. What else do you do in a phone box? That sense, I think, of how traditional PC laptops, sales falling and actually being eclipsed by sales of mobile telephones. By 2019, there will be 5.6 billion smartphone users globally. So that sense of just how many of us have one of these pieces of kit. And that's, of course, across both developing and developed economies. Let's remember that, in fact, many of our developing economies, their uptake on mobile technology, especially within mobile commerce and e-commerce, is much, much quicker here than in the UK, and certainly in the US. So one of the big changes, of course, we've all got to get used to is this notion of what's been called cashless futures, of how our relationship with money starts to change as more and more of us actually shop and purchase through our mobile phones, whether it be through using mechanisms like Bitcoin, or whether it be PayPal, or all sorts of other forms of technology, including then obviously all the point-of-sale alternatives. But if any of us here are involved directly with consumers through retail, through traditional bricks and mortar, then our understanding of shop is going to radically change over the next 5 years. Because we're going to have to increasingly get used to the idea of consumers who seem to just walk into our shop willy-nilly, pick something off the shelf and walk out without paying, and they are not shoplifting. Because we know who they are before they've even walked into the store. Now that's pretty amazing, given that I don't know many retailers who actually know who their customers are, because most of us haven't got a clue who walks into our stores if we run a store. They're just these people that walk off the street and suddenly they're in our stores wanting to buy things or touching things or looking at things or just doing stuff. But increasingly, because of this kind of technology, we actually know who's walking through our door. More of that in a second. That sense, I think, of how mobile payment is really beginning to shift, hugely important. So the number of mobile payment users, fewer than 75 million in 2012, will rise to more than 500 million by 2017. So still small numbers, but increasingly thinking about this role that we play. Are we thinking about that technology? Are we thinking about how all of these types of technologies will change the way that we pay our staff, the way that we actually do encourage to see money seamlessly move from one organisation to another, whether that be a consumer or not?